I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here writing one of these stories about betrayal, but here I am. I'll give you the quick version. I'm Jake, 38, and I run a startup with a lot riding on it. My wife Lisa is 34, sharp-tongued, and she's always been a bit of a bitch, honestly. We've been together for nearly 10 years, married for 5. At first, things were good, passionate, exciting. But over the last year, I started noticing small cracks. She was more distant, snapping at me over nothing, canceling plans last minute. I figured stress, work, that kind of thing. I get busy, but something felt off. Then come the signs. She stopped wearing her wedding ring regularly, which she always wore before. She started leaving her phone unlocked, hiding her texts. I'd catch her lying about where she was going or who she was talking to. It was subtle, but enough to make me suspicious. I didn't confront her outright. What's the point if you don't have proof? Still, I kept my eyes open. I know her, and I could tell she was hiding something. One night, I decided to check the security footage from the office building after hours. We have cameras for security, and I had access because I've always been tight with the building management. I was just going to review some footage of deliveries or cleaning crews, nothing unusual. But as I scrolled through, I saw something that stopped my heart. There she was, Lisa, sneaking into the office after hours with someone I didn't recognize at first. At first glance, I thought maybe it was some kind of mistake, a friend coming over or a coincidence. But then I saw her slip into a conference room with someone who looked like he was in his late 20s, probably the investor's son, Kevin. Kevin, my business partner's kid. I knew about them, knew he was coming around for meetings, but I had no idea she was cheating on me with him. The footage was unmistakable. They were in that conference room for close to an hour, then she left looking breathless and flushed. I could see her adjusting her purse, fixing her hair. It was perfect evidence. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. My first instinct was anger, pure and raw. How dare she? How could she do this to me, too? Everything we built. I kept watching, replaying the clip multiple times, feeling sick. Then I remembered how she'd been acting lately, snappy, dismissive, like I was just an obstacle in her life. And now I knew why. That bitch had been cheating on me with a kid who's more interested in his stupid startup than in her. My mind spun. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious. But I didn't say anything that night. I just sat there in the dark, watching her walk out of the building, knowing I had the proof I needed. I couldn't believe I was actually going to confront her. I didn't sleep that night. I was already planning what I'd say, what I'd do. The betrayal felt like a punch to my gut every time I thought about it. I kept replaying the footage, trying to find some reason, some excuse she might give. But honestly, I knew there wouldn't be one. How do you explain away your wife sneaking off for sex with your business investor's son? It was just so surreal. She's always been bitchy, yes. But this was a whole new level of betrayal. I felt like I'd been hit by a freight train with a mix of sadness and rage swirling inside me. I knew then I couldn't keep going like this, not without some kind of plan. I needed to figure out what to do next, and fast. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My head was pounding, and the weight of what I'd seen the night before pressed down on me like a ton of bricks. I couldn't shake the image of her sneaking out, her face flushed, that sneaky look she gets when she thinks she's gotten away with something. I kept asking myself, how long has this been going on? How many times? The worst part was knowing she had lied to my face for months, maybe even longer. I needed to confront her, but I didn't want to do it right away. I needed to gather myself, figure out what I was going to say, how I was going to approach this. I spent most of the morning pacing around the apartment, trying to piece everything together. I looked at her phone, her emails, her social media, anything that might give me more clues. But honestly, the footage was enough. It was concrete. The lies, the sneaking around, they all pointed to one thing. She'd been cheating on me with Kevin, the kid, my business partner's son. Finally, I decided I'd had enough. I got her home from work early that day, telling her I wasn't feeling well. She looked annoyed but didn't press me. I could see her trying to act normal, but her eyes kept darting around, like she was waiting for the right moment to lie her way out of it. When we were alone, I looked her right in the eye and said, "Lisa, I know what you did. I saw the footage." She froze, her face blanching for a second. Then she threw her head back and spat out, "Oh, please, Jake, you're overreacting. It's not what it looks like." She was trying to play it off like I was crazy. I wasn't falling for her bullshit. I told her I had the footage, that I knew everything, and her pathetic attempt at lying just made me angrier. She rolled her eyes, scoffing, "You're blowing this out of proportion. Kevin and I, sex isn't a big deal. Maybe I needed a little excitement." That little excitement comment made me want to lose my mind. I've been faithful, working my ass off to build something real, and she was out there doing God knows what with some kid who's got more ambition for his startup than for his own integrity. I told her I'd had enough, that I didn't want to hear her lies anymore. She shrugged like she didn't care and just said, "You're making a big deal out of nothing, Jake. You're just jealous or something." Jealous? I was furious. How could she dismiss this like it was some petty argument? She was so bitchy, so dismissive, like she thought she was above everything. I felt my blood boil. I told her she needed to leave, that I wanted her out of my house. She smirked and said, "Fine, but you're going to regret this. You're overreacting as usual." That was her way, dismissing my feelings, trying to make me feel like I was the crazy one. That conversation felt like a punch in the gut. I'd always known she was a bitch, but her attitude during that confrontation just confirmed it. She's manipulative, she lies compulsively, and she obviously thinks she's smarter than everyone else. I couldn't believe I married someone like her, someone so selfish and dishonest. I was hurt, but more than anything I was angry. Angry at her, angry at myself for not seeing it sooner, and angry at Kevin for being so damn stupid. That day, I realized I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I knew I had to make serious decisions, but I wasn't ready yet. I needed time to process, to decide whether I wanted to fight for the marriage or if I'd finally had enough. The emotional roller coaster was just beginning. I felt like I was stuck in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from, knowing that everything I believed in my marriage, my trust, had been shattered by her lies and betrayal. The days that followed were a blur. I threw myself into work, trying to drown out the chaos in my head, but it was no use. Everywhere I looked, I saw her face, her sneering smirk, the way she dismissed everything I said. I kept replaying the footage, analyzing every second, trying to find some sign I missed, some excuse I could cling to. But there was nothing, just her sneaking off. With Kevin, the kid I had trusted, the kid I helped get funding for his startup, the kid I thought was just a business associate's son. It was hard to focus. Every time I tried to work, my mind drifted back to that moment. The betrayal cut deep. I started questioning everything, my judgment, my marriage, my life choices. Was I blind, or just stupid for trusting her? She'd always been bitchy, yeah, but I never thought she was capable of this level of deceit. The woman I married was supposed to be my partner, my best friend. Instead, I found out she was sneaking around, lying about everything, and probably sleeping with Kevin more than once. One night, I decided I had to talk to her again. I needed answers, but I also wanted to see just how far she'd go to deny it. I called her, told her I wanted to meet up. She was skeptical, but she came over, rolling her eyes like I was wasting her time. We sat in the living room, tension thick enough to cut with a knife. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Lisa, I want to know everything. Did you sleep with Kevin? Be honest with me this time." She scoffed, leaned back, and crossed her arms. "You're crazy, Jake. You've got trust issues. Kevin's just a kid, and I was just talking to him about business stuff. You're reading too much into it." She was lying again, I could tell. Her voice was defensive, her eyes darting around, but I pressed on. "Come on, Lisa, I saw the footage. You're sneaking off after hours. Don't lie to me anymore." Her face twisted into a sneer. "Fine, maybe I did. Maybe I slept with him once or twice. Happy now? It doesn't matter. I'm tired of your endless accusations." Her attitude was so dismissive, so bitchy. I felt a rush of anger. How dare she talk to me like that? I'd never seen her so contemptuous before. It was like she enjoyed twisting the knife. I told her she needed to leave. She rolled her eyes, got up, and said, "Whatever, Jake. You're just jealous because Kevin's got a future and you don't. You think money and success matter, but you're so insecure. You'd better get used to losing everything." That was her final insult, the cherry on top. She turned her back and walked out the door like she didn't care, like I was nothing. That night I felt like I was losing my mind. I was furious, heartbroken, and confused all at once. I couldn't believe she had lied so blatantly, so shamelessly. The woman I thought I knew was just a manipulative, selfish bitch. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering how I was going to move forward. Did I confront her again? Did I cut her out of my life completely? Or was I just going to sit here and let her keep lying, keep playing her games? I realized I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I had to decide. Do I fight for this marriage, or do I finally accept that she's gone too far? The pain was overwhelming, but underneath it, there was a small voice telling me I deserved better. The betrayal had opened my eyes. She was not the woman I married, and maybe she never was. I needed to get some perspective. I needed to figure out what was best for me, because right now, I felt like I was drowning in a sea of lies and heartbreak. The following days dragged on in a haze. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. Every time I tried to clear my head, her face popped up, her bitchy smirk, the way she dismissed everything I said like I was just some inconvenience in her life. I thought about everything. The nights she was distant, her weird mood swings, how she'd suddenly become clingy one minute and cold the next. All of it started making sense now, like pieces of a puzzle falling into place. I decided to dig deeper. I knew I couldn't just go on pretending I didn't know what she was doing. I started checking her phone, her emails, her social media accounts. Nothing concrete there, but I didn't need that anymore. The footage already proved she was cheating. What I needed now was to gather my thoughts, plan my next move, figure out whether I wanted to save this mess or cut her loose for good. One night, I got a call from Kevin, out of the blue. I didn't pick up immediately, but then I saw his number flashing on the screen and answered. His voice was nervous, trying to sound casual but failing. "Hey Jake, look, I just wanted to say I didn't mean for any of this to go down like it did. I didn't think she was married or that she'd get this attached. Honestly, I thought she was just playing around, a little fun, but it got out of hand." I was stunned. I hadn't expected him to reach out, and I definitely didn't expect this confession. I stayed quiet, listening as he continued. "Listen, I know I screwed up. I shouldn't have gotten involved, and I definitely shouldn't have lied to you. But I swear, I didn't want to hurt you or your business. I really thought she was just some bitchy wife who didn't care about her husband's success. I didn't think she'd do this, not with me, not with anyone." His words didn't surprise me, but hearing him admit it like that made my blood boil. I told him to stay the hell away from her, that I'd deal with her myself. But inside, I felt something shift. Maybe I'd been so blinded by rage and heartbreak that I hadn't considered whether I even wanted to fight anymore. Kevin's apology was half-hearted, but it made me realize that there was no saving this mess. It was beyond repair. The next morning, I sat down with a lawyer. I knew I had to protect myself, my assets, and my startup. Divorce was inevitable, and I wasn't going to let her walk away without consequences. As I went over the legal options, I felt a strange mix of relief and despair. Part of me wanted to tear everything apart and start fresh. The other part was mourning the loss of the woman I thought I loved. She had turned into someone I barely recognized, bitchy, manipulative, and completely untrustworthy. I also started planning my revenge. Not in some sick way, but as a way to regain control of my life. I decided I'd expose her at the right moment, make her accountable for the damage she'd done, especially how she used me, our marriage, and my trust to get what she wanted. I knew she liked to lie, to manipulate, but I'd gather all the evidence I needed, her lies, her sneaking around, everything. I'd show her that I wasn't going to be played for a fool. Honestly, the hardest part was accepting that this was real, that she'd betrayed me so completely. It's one thing to suspect. It's another to have undeniable proof and still feel like your world is crumbling. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all the signs? How did I let her get away with it for so long? And the worst part, how do I forget her or forgive her? The pain was raw, but I knew I had to move on. I couldn't keep living with the betrayal hanging over my head. I had to act, and I had to do it fast. The decision to move forward wasn't easy, but it became clear that staying in this marriage, knowing what I now knew, would only destroy me further. I started making arrangements. I found a good divorce lawyer who specialized in high-stakes cases, someone who understood how much I had to lose and how deeply I needed to protect myself. I prepared myself emotionally, knowing that the fallout would be brutal. Still, I refused to be her victim any longer. I was done playing nice. In the meantime, I kept gathering evidence. I hired a private investigator to dig into her activities beyond what I could see. Through that, I uncovered more other lies, her manipulative ways, her attempts to cover her tracks. Each new piece of dirt made my resolve stronger. I was going to make sure she paid for what she did, not just for me, but for the betrayal of everything we'd built together. One day, I decided to confront her one last time, not to beg or plead, but to lay everything out on the table. I met her at a cafe, her bitchy attitude already on full display. She tried to dismiss me, act like everything was fine, but I was over that game. I pulled out the evidence, screenshots, recordings, timeline of her lies, everything I had collected. Her face twisted in disbelief, then anger as she realized I wasn't messing around. "You've been lying all along," I said coldly. "You thought you could get away with cheating on me, lying about everything. I've documented everything, Lisa. You've used me, manipulated me, and now I'm done. I'm filing for divorce. And I'll make damn sure you lose every cent if you try to play games with my business. You're not getting away with this." She scoffed, her bitchy smirk back in place. "You're insane, Jake. This is all just a misunderstanding. You're overreacting. I don't know what you think you have on me, but you're making a huge mistake." She tried to keep her composure, but I could see her eyes flickering with panic. I knew I'd hit her where it hurt, her ego, her manipulation, her lies. That moment marked the end of our marriage as I knew it. I didn't want her to think she'd won anything. She'd already lost my trust, my respect, and quite possibly her marriage. I felt a strange sense of clarity, knowing I was finally taking control. I had all the leverage now, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. As I walked away from that meeting, my mind was already on the next steps. The divorce process, the recovery, reclaiming what I'd lost. It was a long road ahead, but I knew I was done with her games. This betrayal had broken something inside me, but it also ignited a fire. I was determined to rebuild, to learn from this nightmare. I kept telling myself, "You're better off without her," even though deep down the pain still lingered. Still, I knew that moving on was the only way to truly heal and get my life back on track. The divorce was finalized a few months after that confrontation. It wasn't easy. There were tears, anger, bitter arguments, and moments I wondered if I was doing the right thing. But deep down, I knew I couldn't stay in a marriage built on lies and betrayal. I also knew I had to cut my losses and focus on rebuilding my life, piece by piece. The financial settlements hurt. I lost some money, but honestly, that was the least of my worries. More than anything, I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. I no longer had to wonder if she was sneaking around, lying, manipulating. I could finally breathe again. I threw myself into my work even harder, poured my energy into my startup, and slowly I started feeling like myself again. Looking back, I realize how much this experience changed me. I learned that sometimes, people you trust the most can turn out to be your worst enemies. I also learned that silence and patience aren't always the answers. You need to face the truth, no matter how painful it is. I wish I'd seen the signs earlier, but I also understand now how easy it is to miss red flags when you're caught up in your own life. Most importantly, I've come to see that revenge isn't about getting back at someone. It's about reclaiming your power and dignity. I didn't want to destroy her, but I wanted her to feel the weight of her betrayal. I wanted her to realize what she'd lost. And in the end, I think she did. I've heard she's trying to move on, but I don't care anymore. That chapter is closed. Now, I focus on myself. I've started dating again, cautiously. I've learned to trust slowly and to keep my guard up. I don't regret what happened. If anything, it's made me stronger. I don't hold on to anger anymore. I accept that she's gone and I'm better off without her. To anyone reading this who might be going through something similar, I'll say this: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the signs, no matter how small. When the betrayal hits, allow yourself to feel everything: anger, sadness, confusion, and then use it to move forward. Protect yourself, get the evidence you need, and don't be afraid to cut toxic people out of your life. You deserve honesty, respect, and someone who truly values you, not someone who lies, cheats, and manipulates. Life goes on. It's not easy, but it's worth it. And in the end, your true strength lies in how you pick yourself back up. I did, and I'm finally starting to rebuild what was broken.